The desert was still burning from the battle. Smoke twisted into the sky like fingers trying to grab something they had lost. A human soldier stood alone near a half-destroyed armored vehicle, his rifle slung on his back and dust in his beard. His name was Caleb Ward, a man who never wanted glory, but had earned it anyway. Bodies of machines and broken alien tech littered the sand. The war between humans and the Zentari Empire had finally ended with a strange twist one no one could have predicted. Caleb hadn't planned to be a hero. He just acted when others froze. He moved when others ran. And that's why he was still alive. Two alien girls sat silently a few feet away, both watching him with unreadable expressions. They were the only survivors of the Royal Guard unit that had once sworn to fight humans to the death. The first girl had glowing blue skin and eyes like silver moons. Her name was Kalira, a warrior from the Iceblood lineage. She was known among her kind as the Death Bloom, beautiful but deadly. Her armor was cracked, her long black hair tangled with dirt and blood, but she still looked like something out of a dream. The second was Elinari, the fire-born princess of the Nightvale Stars. With pale skin, long platinum blonde hair, and eyes sharp like knives, she was once called the Untouched Flame. She sat calmly, wounded but proud, her gaze on Caleb, judging him, testing him. Caleb didn't speak. He only checked his gear, his wounds, then looked up at the sky as the last of the enemy gunships flew away in surrender. "Soldier," a voice called out from the human command unit behind him. It was Major Havers. "You're to report for recognition. Your actions saved Sector 9. The Council has decided to reward you." Caleb didn't move. "What kind of reward?" "The aliens," Havers said flatly. "Both are daughters of high caste families. Strong bloodlines, genetic prestige. They are bound by surrender code to serve as tribute. Choose one. She will be yours." Caleb turned his head slowly toward the girls. Kalira's expression hardened, ready for rejection or humiliation. Elinari didn't even blink, her pride already expecting disappointment. They were trophies now. Beautiful, dangerous, and silent. He walked toward them, not like a man choosing a prize, but like a man walking into a storm. His boots crunched softly in the sand. He stopped in front of them and looked down, but didn't say anything for a long time. Kalira finally spoke. "If you plan to break me, try harder. Men have died trying." Elinari smirked. "Or maybe he just wants a pretty pet. Humans are simple." Caleb raised an eyebrow, then knelt slowly until he was eye level with both. His voice was calm. "I didn't bleed so I could own someone." They looked confused. He continued, "I didn't save lives today to trade freedom for loyalty. I didn't kill your warlords to turn you into prizes." Kalira narrowed her eyes. "Then what do you want?" Caleb looked between them. "I want you both to stand, not as rewards, as warriors." Elinari's smirk vanished. "You mean, choose both?" Havers shouted behind him, "You can't take both, soldier. Choose one." Caleb stood and turned his back to the girls. "Then tell the Council I refuse the reward. But if you ask me to fight beside someone again, I'll fight beside them." Silence. The kind that feels heavy in your lungs. Kalira slowly stood, watching him like he was something she couldn't understand. "You're not like the others." "I'm tired," Caleb replied. "Tired of everyone thinking we have to keep choosing sides." Elinari rose too. Her blonde hair moved with the wind like silver fire. "You chose both of us, without asking us to bow." "I didn't choose either," he said without looking back. "I just gave you the chance to choose." From the command tent, shouts and radio chatter grew loud, but Caleb didn't care. His choice was made. He walked away, armor scratched, heart heavy but free. Behind him, two alien girls stared at each other in silence. Then followed. The three of them didn't speak much that evening. Caleb had found a small hill outside the camp. away from the noisy celebration. The war was over, but peace didn't feel real. Not yet. He sat on a rock, looking at the stars, while Kalira and Elinari sat across from him, still unsure if they were his enemies or something else. A warm breeze blew across the desert. The sky above was a deep violet, scattered with stars and ash clouds from the last battle. Kalira crossed her arms, watching Caleb with narrowed eyes. Why didn't you take the reward? You could have made either of us serve you. Command us. I'm not interested in slaves, he said without looking at her. I want allies. Elinari raised a brow. Even after what our people did to yours? I've seen enough war, Caleb replied. And I've seen enough people die because someone thought power was more important than understanding. Kalira scoffed. Understanding doesn't win wars. Maybe not, Caleb said, finally turning toward her. But it can stop the next one. The silence returned for a moment. Then Elinari tilted her head, her voice softer now. Do you trust us? Caleb looked between them. No, not yet. But I didn't walk away from you back there because I trusted you. I walked away so you'd have the chance to show me who you really are without chains. Kalira looked down at her gloved hands, bruised and stained. She had always been trained to kill, to lead, to conquer. But this human was making her feel something unfamiliar, uneasy. Seen, Elinari leaned back on her hands, gazing at the sky. We're not used to choices, you know. In my world, everything is decided by family name, rank, genetics. Kalira nodded. And I was trained since I could walk. My emotions were weaknesses to erase. Sounds lonely, Caleb said quietly. Kalira blinked. What? I said it sounds lonely, he repeated. She didn't respond, but her gaze dropped again, and for the first time, she didn't look like a warrior. She looked like someone tired of wearing armor. Just then, a sound broke the silence. Footsteps. Caleb stood up quickly, his hand moving to his sidearm. From the shadows of the rocks, 3 human soldiers emerged, armed and armored. Ward, one of them said, nodding toward him. Orders from Central. The alien girls are to be processed and sent to containment for genetic evaluation. Caleb's expression darkened. They surrendered. They're under my protection. Doesn't matter. The council wants samples. They're high-value assets now. Kalira immediately reached for her blade, but Caleb raised a hand. No, don't. Elinari stepped beside him, her voice sharp. Are we property again? The lead soldier chuckled. You're lucky we're not calling it hunting season. Caleb stepped forward, blocking the 2 girls with his body. You're not taking them. You disobey this, you're out of the program, the soldier warned. I didn't join to watch innocent people turned into experiments. Caleb snapped. A tense silence fell. Weapons were ready. One wrong move and blood would spill. Then Kalira stepped forward slowly. Let me speak to your commander. Denied, the soldier barked. Elinari smiled coldly. You just made a mistake. From the rocks above, sharp whistling sound cut the air. Something hit the ground with a metallic thud. Smoke grenade. In seconds, vision was gone. Caleb grabbed the 2 girls and dragged them behind the ridge. Shots fired wildly in the smoke. They ran. When they stopped, they were breathing hard, covered in dust, hidden in an old mining tunnel. Caleb leaned against the wall, coughing. I think I just became a traitor, he muttered. Kalira looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. You risked everything for us. I didn't want you to be rewards, he said. And I sure won't let you become lab rats. Elinari touched his shoulder gently. Maybe we'll fight for you now. Kalira added, or maybe with you. Caleb smiled faintly, despite the chaos. For the first time they weren't divided by race, loyalty, or species. They were just 3 fugitives. But free. And now, they had a new fight ahead. The cave was damp and quiet. Old mining tools lay rusted along the walls, forgotten by time. The tunnel stretched deep into the earth, dark and cold. Caleb lit a small lamp and placed it in the center of the space. Its weak glow revealed the tired faces of the three fugitives. Elinari sat with her back against the stone wall, her eyes sharp as ever, but her hands trembled slightly. Kalira stood near the entrance, watching, always alert. Caleb remained quiet, checking a small datapad. He had stolen from the military tent before they escaped. "They'll hunt us," Elinari said. "Not just the soldiers, the council too. We're too valuable to let go, I know," Caleb said. "That's why we need to disappear before dawn." Kalira crossed her arms. "Where would you take us?" "The human cities will capture us. The alien sectors want us dead." "There's one place," Caleb said slowly. "Neutral zone near the Dustridge Valley. Old rebel territory. Off-grid, no scanners." Kalira's eyes narrowed. "Why would rebels help you?" "They owe me," Caleb said simply. "I saved one of their commanders during the Orion push. He promised me one favor, no questions asked." Elinari raised an eyebrow. "And you're spending that favor on us?" Caleb nodded. "Seems worth it." Kalira didn't speak, but something flickered in her eyes. She wasn't used to being protected, especially not by someone who could have owned her. Suddenly, a sharp mechanical beep echoed from Caleb's pad. "Tracker," he hissed. "They activated a drone sweep. How close?" Elinari asked quickly. Caleb tapped the screen. One click. "Maybe 2 minutes away." Kalira drew her blade. "We fight?" "No," Caleb said. "We move." They packed quickly and slipped deeper into the tunnels. Caleb led, using the old maps in his pad. Elinari followed closely, while Kalira took the rear, eyes always scanning. They walked for nearly an hour through tight, twisting paths. Then, without warning, the Lyra stopped. "I hear something," she whispered. Caleb halted. "What?" She didn't answer. She just motioned them to crouch. Seconds later, a red glow appeared down the far end of the tunnel. A scout drone hovered into view, small, silent, armed. It paused, scanned the area, then moved forward slowly. Elinari leaned close to Caleb. "We can't run. That tunnel's too narrow." Caleb clenched his jaw. "If we destroy it, more will come." "Then we hide," Kalira said, pointing to a side crack in the wall barely wide enough for them. They squeezed inside, one by one. The space was tight, barely enough to breathe. The drone floated past, its red eye scanning, then moved on. Waited in silence. 10 seconds. 20. A full minute. Finally Caleb exhaled. "We're clear." They climbed out. But just as Caleb took a step forward, he heard it: metal boots. Soldiers. He turned fast. 5 armed troopers were coming from the rear tunnel, weapons raised. "Drop your weapons," one shouted. Caleb lifted his hands slowly. Kalira and Elinari stood frozen, but before anything else could happen, a sudden voice echoed through the tunnel deep, calm and mechanical. "That's close enough." From the shadows, figures emerged, humans, but not soldiers. Worn jackets, face masks, heavy rifles. Rebel fighters. The lead rebel stepped forward. He was tall, scarred, with one cybernetic eye. He looked straight at Caleb. "I heard you were dead." "Not yet," Caleb said. "I need the favor you owe me." The rebel looked at Kalira and Elinari, then back to Caleb. "These are the aliens the council is hunting?" "Yes," Caleb replied. The rebel paused, then nodded. "Follow me. But if you bring war to my people, I'll bury you myself." Caleb gave a tired smile. "Fair deal." They walked deeper into the rebel tunnels, the soldiers following behind. Kalira looked at Caleb as they moved. "You really trust these people?" "No," Caleb said honestly. "But they're not killers for sport. And right now, they're our best chance." Elinari whispered, "You just keep risking everything." "Why?" Caleb looked at them both. Because you weren't given a choice. And now, maybe it's time someone fought so you could finally make your own. And in the darkness, for the first time since the war ended, Kalira smiled. The rebel base was hidden deep inside the mountains, carved into ancient tunnels left behind by miners long gone. Rusted support beams creaked above them, and electric cables snaked along the ceilings like vines. It wasn't pretty, but it was safe. For now Caleb, Kalira, and Elinari followed the scarred rebel leader through narrow passageways until they reached a dimly lit chamber filled with old tech, crates, and flickering screens. Men and women in mismatched armor moved like ghosts. Watching the newcomers closely, some whispered. Others just stared. "These two alien girls," one rebel said aloud, pointing. "They're the Council's top targets. If they're here, they'll send kill teams." The leader turned to his people. "We protect those who are hunted unjustly. That was always our rule. Caleb saved my life once. I stand by him." Still, tension crackled in the air. Kalira's hand stayed near her blade. Elinari didn't relax either. The three of them were shown to a small room bare, with only 2 mats and a water unit. Caleb sat on the floor, resting his back against the wall. The girls didn't sit right away. Instead, they stood quietly, eyes scanning the walls like they didn't trust even the air around them. Elinari finally broke the silence. "They hate us. They're afraid of you," Caleb said. Kalira crossed her arms. "They should be." Caleb looked up at her. "Are you?" She looked confused. "Afraid?" "No," Caleb said. "Tired of being feared." Kalira didn't answer, but her silence spoke louder than words. That night, Caleb barely slept. His thoughts were a storm, too many questions, too little time. What if the Council sent assassins? What if the rebels betrayed them? What if he had doomed them all by not choosing? Morning came with shouting. Caleb jumped up, grabbing his weapon. Outside, rebels rushed down the corridor. Elinari was already awake, holding her energy blade. Kalira looked deadly and focused. Caleb stopped a young rebel sprinting by. "What's going on?" "Spy drone breached the perimeter," he said. "Came through the vents. Someone's tracking you." Caleb's stomach dropped. "They're coming." The leader called a meeting. Everyone gathered in the old control room. The map showed movement, small red dots getting closer. "They're not sending soldiers this time," the rebel said. "These are private contractors, hunters." Kalira frowned. "Mercenaries?" "Worse," Elinari said. "Ghost corps." The rebels muttered among themselves. Even Caleb looked uneasy now. "I've fought them once," he said. "They don't leave survivors." The leader turned to Caleb. "We helped you. Now what's your plan?" Caleb looked at the 2 alien girls, one who once ruled in silence, the other who led armies in fire. He exhaled. "We don't run anymore," he said. "We set a trap." The plan was risky. The tunnels were narrow, perfect for ambushes. The rebels knew the paths better than any map could show. Caleb split the fighters into small units. Kalira and Elinari chose to fight, not hide. Kalira sharpened her blade, then looked at Caleb. "If I die, tell your people I never bowed." "You're not dying," Caleb said. "Not today." Elinari smiled, eyes glowing faintly. "Besides, you still haven't picked between us." Kalira shot her a glare, but Elinari just smirked and walked ahead. Hours passed. The base waited. In silence, then movement. Sensors picked up 6 hostiles entering from the southern tunnel's stealth gear, high-grade weapons, and zero hesitation. The first team engaged. Blaster fire echoed like thunder. Explosions shook the earth. Caleb led his squad through the western flank. He moved fast, precise, like a man with something to protect. Kalira dropped from above onto one enemy, blade slicing with perfect control. Elinari used her energy whip, wrapping it around a mercenary's neck and throwing him into a wall. It wasn't war, it was survival. One merc came straight for Caleb before he could fire. Kalira tackled him from the side, snarling like a beast. "I don't belong to anyone," she whispered, and knocked him out cold. More enemies came, but the rebels held strong. By the time it was over, 5 mercs were dead, 1 captured. The rest never even made it inside. After the dust cleared, Caleb sat against a wall, breathing hard. Kalira stood beside him, her armor scratched but her eyes alive. Elinari leaned against a pillar, wiping blood from her lip. "We won," she said. "Today," Caleb nodded. "But they'll come again." Kalira crouched beside him. "Then you'll need both of us." Caleb looked at her, then at Elinari. For the first time, he saw something different, not just warriors, not just survivors, but something stronger. "I never wanted to choose," he said quietly. "Because neither of you deserves to be second," Elinari smirked. "Then don't." Kalira just nodded. And in that strange moment under fire, among rebels, in the ashes of war, something like understanding began to form. The captured mercenary sat tied to a chair in a cold storage room. His face was bruised, one eye swollen shut. Blood ran from a cut on his cheek, but he was still smiling. Caleb stood in front of him with crossed arms, silent. Kalira leaned against the wall, arms folded, her sharp eyes never blinking. Elinari paced slowly behind the prisoner, like a predator waiting to strike. "You're all dead," the mercenary finally said, his voice cracked. "You just don't know it yet." Caleb crouched. "Tell me who sent you." "You already know." "Council?" The merc laughed. "No, not anymore. The council is too slow. This came from the labs, deep project. Black file." Kalira stepped forward. "Why us? What do they want from us?" The merc looked at her with that same bloody grin. "You're not just noble blood. Aliens, you're prototypes." Elinari stopped pacing. "What did you say?" The merc leaned forward, whispering like it was a secret meant only for horror. "You think your royal families kept you close because of love? You two were designed, built, weapons wearing pretty skin." Kalira's fists clenched. "Lies," Caleb shook his head. "No, I've heard rumors. Human scientists captured alien DNA during the early war. Said they were working on something called Project Twin Flame." Elinari's breath caught. "We were called the Flame and the Ice. That's what they named us when we were born." Kalira whispered. "It wasn't just a nickname. It was a label." The merc grinned wider. "They want you back not for who you are, but what you could become. Together, your genes could form the core of a new weapon. Something beyond human or alien." Elinari stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. "I am not a test subject." Kalira followed, grabbing the merc's chin. "You tell your masters this. If they want us, they'll need an army 10 times stronger, and even then, they'll lose." Caleb finally turned away. His mind raced. He looked at the rebel leader waiting outside the door. "We're not just protecting fugitives anymore. We're protecting a secret both sides would kill for." The leader nodded grimly. "Then we bury the truth so deep no one can dig it up." Later, in the main room, the 3 sat quietly. Elinari's voice was bitter. "My parents, they raised me like a weapon. I thought it was just tradition. I never knew." Kalira was silent, lost in her own thoughts. Caleb looked at them both. "This isn't your fault. You didn't ask to be created this way." Kalira spoke softly. "But we were made for war. What if we don't know how to be anything else?" Caleb stood. "Then we teach ourselves. Together, you were born to destroy. Maybe, but now you can choose to protect." The room was quiet for a long time. Then Elinari leaned back and said, "We're going to need more than weapons." Caleb nodded. "We'll need allies. And we need to disappear before they launch another wave." Kalira looked up. "I know one place. A vault city hidden under the old snow moons. My family stored forbidden tech there during the final days of our civil war. Elinari raised a brow. You mean the Frosthold Vault? Kalira nodded. Yes. If we reach it, we may find something strong enough to fight whatever they're building. Caleb picked up his pack. Then we head for Frosthold. The rebel leader approached, handing Caleb a signal flare. If you make it, call for us. We'll come. Kalira turned to Elinari, a rare seriousness in her voice. If what that merc said is true, then we're more dangerous than we ever imagined. Elinari smirked, her usual fire returning. Then let's show them how dangerous. Together. The three walked into the night once again, this time not as fugitives but as living weapons ready to rewrite their destiny. Snow whipped across Caleb's face like blades. The wind screamed through the mountains as if the world itself wanted them to turn back. The climb toward Frosthold was worse than any battlefield, cold, cruel, endless. Even with thermal suits, they could feel the frost biting at their skin. Kalira led the way. This was her homeworld once, long ago, before politics, war, and blood made her forget it. Her armor was patched, her eyes sharp, but Caleb noticed how she sometimes paused, as if remembering something painful. Elinari followed close behind, her movements smooth and confident even on the icy cliffs. Her fire-born blood helped her resist the cold, but even she looked tired. Caleb moved slower than both, not built for frozen altitudes. His breath fogged the air with every step, his muscles aching under the weight of his gear, but he never complained. He had something to protect now. At last, after 3 days of travel, they reached a jagged ridge that overlooked a frozen canyon. At the center, half buried in snow, stood a tall steel door built into the mountain wall. This is it, Kalira said. Frosthold. The door looked ancient, covered in frost and strange alien markings. Caleb stepped forward. How do we open it? Kalira touched her hand to the door. The metal glowed under her palm. It's linked to my bloodline. If I'm alive, it opens. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a loud hiss echoed through the air, and the door slowly slid open, revealing a deep, dark tunnel glowing with pale blue lights. They stepped inside. Inside the vault, the air was dry but warmer. The halls were made of smooth metal, covered in frost patterns that moved like they were alive. Strange machines sat sleeping in corners, covered in ice and dust. The silence was heavy. Kalira walked ahead, guiding them deeper. My ancestors built this to store weapons that were too dangerous for war. Technology too advanced. They believed no empire should have this kind of power. Elinari looked around with interest. Why not use it? Because the cost was always too high, Kalira said. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A deep hum filled the hall. Then a voice spoke, calm, female and ancient. Bloodline match confirmed. Welcome, Kalira Vaith. Vault AI awakened. Caleb stepped back, surprised. There's an AI? Kalira nodded. One of the oldest. It was designed to judge who is worthy of what lies inside. The floor shifted beneath them. Slowly, a platform rose from the center of the room. At its top sat a strange crystal sphere, pulsing softly. The voice spoke again. One of you must make a choice. The fusion key must bond with a will. Elinari frowned. What does that mean? Kalira looked pale. It means the vault is offering one of us the power locked inside, but at a price. Caleb approached the sphere, cautious. What price? The bonding process, Kalira said. It rewrites the host's DNA, gives power, yes, but also changes the soul, makes you less yourself. Elinari stepped closer, staring at the sphere. So it's a weapon. A living weapon. The AI spoke again. Choose now, or the vault will close for another 1,000 years. Silence. Kalira looked at Elinari. You know we can't leave it. If the council finds this place, They'll take it and use it to build something far worse. Elinari nodded. One of us has to do it, but which one? Caleb stepped forward. I will. Both girls turned to him in shock. No, Kalira said. Firmly, it must be one of us, it's our blood. Your body might not survive. Caleb looked at them with calm eyes. I've seen what war does to people. If someone's going to carry the burden, it should be someone who chose it freely, not someone born into it. Elinari's voice was quiet. But you'll lose part of who you are. Caleb smiled faintly. I've already lost too much. If I can protect what's left, it's worth it. He placed his hand on the sphere. It glowed. The ice voice softened. Human genetic profile confirmed. Compatibility unknown. Proceeding. The light swallowed him. Kalira screamed, no. Elinari rushed forward, but it was too late. The platform closed, the light vanished, and Caleb was gone. The vault was silent. Kalira stood frozen, her hand still reaching toward the sealed platform. Her heart pounded in her chest like war drums. Elinari paced behind her, her usual calm replaced by panic. He's gone, Kalira whispered. The vault took him. No, Elinari said sharply. It can't end like that. The eye said compatibility unknown. That doesn't mean death. It means change. Minutes passed like hours. Neither girl moved. The cold air inside the chamber felt heavier now. The glowing sphere dimmed to darkness. Then the floor shook. The platform lit up again. Kalira took a step back, her eyes wide. Elinari clenched her fists, watching carefully. From the rising mist, a figure stood. It was Caleb. But not the same. His body glowed faintly with blue and gold, energy lines tracing over his skin like armor. His eyes were brighter, glowing faint silver. The cuts and bruises were gone. His voice, when he spoke, was deeper, stronger, but still his. I'm still here, he said softly. Kalira rushed to him and grabbed his arm. What did it do to you? Caleb looked at his hand. It gave me knowledge, speed, strength, pain. Elinari moved closer. Are you still you? Caleb looked between them. Yes, but I feel more. I hear the vault systems. I know what's coming. Kalira's voice lowered. What's coming? He turned toward the vault entrance. The council. They know everything. They're not coming to capture us. They're coming to erase us. A loud rumble echoed through the mountain. From the rebel unit still on Kalira's wrist. Static burst, then a panicked voice. Incoming ship's council mark, 20 vessels. Full. Fire teams. They're landing now, Elinari hissed. They want to wipe this place clean. Caleb's voice was calm. Then we make a stand. Kalira nodded. Together, Elinari grinned, as always. The trio moved to the main chamber, where defense systems hummed back to life. Kalira activated frost field barriers. Elinari linked herself to the power grid, feeding at her flame. Energy. Caleb stepped to the central console, hands glowing with vault energy. Outside, the sky filled with ships. Inside, 3 warriors waited, not as enemies, not as trophies, but as one. When the first blast hit the outer gate, the vault lit up like a star. Energy cannons activated. Drones flew from the walls. The council troops entered and met resistance they never expected. Kalira fought with speed and fury, blades moving like lightning through the smoke. Elinari burned the cold air with fire whips, defending every angle, and Caleb he moved like a ghost. Every strike was exact. Every command triggered the vault's ancient weapons, turning the battlefield into chaos. Hours passed. Then silence. When it was over, the council had nothing left. Ships burned, troops fled. The vault still stood. The rebel flare was fired into the sky. Moments later, help arrived: rebels, outlaws, even former enemies who had heard the truth. Kalira stood beside Caleb, her armor cracked but her face proud. You could have chosen one of us, Caleb smiled. I chose both. Because neither of you should have been forced to be less than what you are. Velinari leaned on his shoulder. And now? Now, he said, we build something better. The vault remained hidden but awake. The war was over. The story of the man who refused to choose power over people, who accepted both warrior girls not as prizes but as partners, spread across planets, and somewhere in the cold stars above, the future waited for the three who stood together and rewrote destiny.